Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 11th President of the University of Redlands, Dr. Ralph W. Kuncl.
Today is a day that will live in memory. You might remember the light from behind the window, or the sounds of the students singing, or your hair raised on end by the organ or chorus or orchestra, or the carillon on your way out. It's like a bar mitzvah and a wedding all rolled into one. But the people who brought you this today will remember being thanked from my heart. First and foremost, to my beloved wife, Nancy, without whom I would not be here today. Dick Fisher, my partner and confidant, and yes, it's okay to applaud. It's like a political convention with lots of applause lines. Dick Fisher. Carol Beswick, whose committee chose me and who leads with me. The three producers and directors of this emotional and memorable event for us, Anita West, Shar Burgess, and Andrew Glendenning. My colleagues, for their words today. Art Svensson, the most masterful of teachers and artists, and you now know why. Sana Andrews, my friend to the end. Tom Jackson, the surprising mentor who sparked my interest in Redlands in the first place. And Marlene Ross, whose picture hangs on my wall of fame because no one was more important than she in making this possible. John Walsh, a new mentor of mine and responsible for the entire firmament. The incredible Fred Swan at the organ, and all the student and faculty musicians who have just torn open my heart, and I hope yours today, with music. I stand in this magnificent house today with you because I am blessed. Not deserving, but blessed by each of you. After all, I stand before a huge Palladian stained glass window and artwork on just that theme. Blessed are they who it beckons us to fill in the blank as we need it. That's the way it's supposed to work. I'm blessed, yes, but surely not deserving, rather humbled, hoping inside that perhaps I can give some little service, spark some vision. Jim Appleton told me I'd now be off probation when I took the oath today. But I know better. I won't really be off probation until I've performed my third miracle. For my first miracle today, I won't subject you to what number 2 President Victor Duke offered up at the first ever Redlands inauguration, talks that lasted 8.5 hours. He never got sainthood, but he did get an English bulldog mascot named after him. A further miracle I will bestow upon you is that I will not succumb to the kind of gaffe made by number 5, George Armacost, as he stood where I'm standing right now. According to our former long-serving university marshal with us today, Rob Stewart, one of the most notable moments in Memorial Chapel history was at a baccalaureate service when that serious Sunday school teacher and lion of Redlands, President Armacost, waxed eloquent over the Beatitudes window and said, "I invite you to examine this glorious stained glass in my rear." It'll be a miracle if it doesn't happen to me today. It's customary on these occasions to begin with a bit of history. I traced my own historical roots to 1922 and the creation of the Octomali chant. It was an ironic, satirical counter to the Latin elitism of Oxy's chant, Io Triumphe. Now fast forward 90 years, and now Redlands beats Oxy at its own game by hiring an Occidental tiger instead of a bulldog, and trounces Oxy in football in October. Coincidence? I don't think so. I'm not certain that being a university president is more difficult in 2013 than it was in 1907 when this university was born. Growth has, of course, been rampant, and here are some numbers. In 1910, the population of California was 2.5 million, and there were all of 16 degree-granting institutions in the entire state. A century later, California's population ballooned 15-fold to 38 million. So naturally, it takes a few more schools to accommodate now 443 colleges and universities and counting. Our first president, Jasper Newton Field, started with 59 students in 1909. I started with close to 5,000. Too often, the histories of universities overemphasize the timelines of their presidents, or buildings, or key faculty. In 1914, Nellie Hill Lomau, one of our original students, got it right when she put down on paper her memories and impressions of the first 5 years of the University of Redlands. And I quote, "With all the planning and preparation to start a college, campus, buildings, equipment and housing, administration and faculty, it still would not be an educational institution without students." We can't possibly give enough credit to the young people who were willing to come to a one-horse institution of higher learning with no history, no background, no traditions, and no accreditation. Diplomas from such a college would have almost no value. Such was the situation in Redlands for those who pioneered in those earliest years, and it was real pioneering. The earliest chemistry courses were taught over in the kitchen of the Redlands First Baptist Church. But I've never heard of any student or alum saying, "I'm sorry I went to Redlands instead of some other college." Choosing college is about what fits, not what's convenient. In his masterpiece, The Road Not Taken, Robert Frost, a frequent visitor to Redlands, writes that choice that most of us confront in our lifetime is like this. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And that's made all the difference. Now, I understand that some of you have jumped to the conclusion that the choice of this text was a literal reference to my career path from neurology to Redlands. Not so. It means anything you wish it to. And of course, that's the projective gift of poetry. The creative minds who designed today's experience thought the road less traveled by, the one that's made all the difference, was more likely an allusion to the kind of institution we have been and our distinctive path to the future, because that's how we hope our students and alumni think. They might say, the joy is in the pursuit of discovery. We're here today because of the road Nellie and pioneers like her paved over a century ago. Earlier, you heard another masterpiece performed by our faculty and student ensemble, this one by composer Aaron Copland. Copland spent some time on our campus in the early 1940s. That was before he was famous. And again in 1977 when he got an honorary doctorate. Appalachian Spring is a most appropriate segue for me and all of you at U of R, because the past 5 years have been chaotic at worst and challenging at best. Interestingly, the music was originally composed for a ballet, and the story it told is of a springtime celebration of American pioneers of the 19th century after building a new farmhouse. We are here now, hopefully, to celebrate a spring renewal of our own mission as scholars and teachers. We are starting anew after the greatest recession we've ever faced. We lost our way for a while, and some of us still feel it deeply. But like spring, today we are putting our past disappointments of recent years behind us. Like simple gifts, let us find ourselves in the place just right. So where are we right now? Are we in a just right place? Several of the faculty have told me that they've already discerned my vision for Redlands and given it an acronym, ADMI. Affordability, digital media, and internationalization. Admittedly, I have talked too much about these topics in the last 6 months, but it doesn't take a visionary genius to come up with that stuff. It simply takes rudimentary awareness of the news. So let's examine in the next moments where we are at Redlands right now and where American higher education is going in the near future. When Fitch Ratings threatened to downgrade the credit rating of the United States a year ago, people gasped. It turned out it probably wouldn't have mattered. Now, Moody's Investors Service has publicized a negative outlook for virtually all of American higher education, and people believe it. Look at Moody factors and how they line up with our reality. First, affordability. Yes, tuition keeps rising nationwide, often 3 to 5% per year, and often above the market basket consumer price index we're used to hearing about. But so does the cost of all services, especially high-tech ones in the new knowledge economy. College graduates still have much higher incomes than those without college degrees, and the real dollar value of a college education is actually increasing. Graduates still have far better employability, and families remain willing to pay for college despite the debt they often take on. It's an investment of the greatest magnitude, not a commodity. Realize that American education is sector differentiated, and that's its strength. The true costs in some sectors, mainly public institutions and some elite privates, have escalated greatly. What have we done on our part at Redlands to increase affordability? We mounted a significant and noble response to the economic realities our families face, because in the past 5 years, the net tuition cost, that's the actual price our freshmen paid on average after financial aid, rose only a total of 6%, compared to 18% increase in average net cost for freshmen at four-year public universities during that same period. And after adjusting for inflation, the net cost increase at Redlands over those years was 0. The public's currently increasing price sensitivity is really the result of unemployment, but employment will cycle back. Therefore, it remains the biggest financial mistake one can make about affordability is not going to college. But as Tom Jackson mentioned, is a university merely operational? Is it defined as preparing for certain financial return on one's first job? Emphatically not. What becomes of all those English majors anyway? We now know from the actual data of a mathematician at Williams College. It's instructive to know they mostly go into law and communications and healthcare. Our own English major, Robert Adams, won Guggenheim's, exhibited photography to critical acclaim at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, and was considered the foremost writer of the American West. And those poor history majors, are we to pity them? You will find them mostly in banking, financial services, and law. Glenn and Les Charles, who created the television hit Cheers, and David Lee, who produced and wrote Frasier and the Jeffersons, were our graduates, and all attributed their creative success to their liberal arts breadth. The best college liberal arts experience remains as propitious as it was for the likes of Galileo and Vivaldi, the generation Ys of the 16th and 17th centuries. It's to learn to deal with ambiguity in an uncertain future and to be flexibly prepared for multiple careers, maybe even a college presidency. And who can prepare for that? A second of Moody's factors is the use of digital media for online learning that Marlene Ross spoke about. Now, Moody's would have us believe that the evolution of these massive open online courses serving hundreds of thousands at a time, quote, signals a fundamental shift in education that threatens to destabilize the residential university's business model. Some of the reasons MOOCs are immensely promising are because of access. And satisfaction with online teaching is high as 99% with some edX courses offered through MIT. The experience is so flexible that students can fast forward the video at up to 5 times the speed and still learn. Try that at home the next time you're in a conversation. But almost everyone makes faulty assumptions, way overestimating MOOC revenue and generation and the paltry rate of completion of courses. Faster, cheaper. In order to increase mere throughput of students in college is not what we're about. Online only matters to me if we can show it enhances actual learning. And the research shows it definitely can in certain circumstances. Yet the same research shows it can definitely degrade learning in others. The future lies in hybrid approaches to online learning that combine the best of place and distance. The pundits who have lost their nuance have argued that our residential campuses and traditional teaching will become relics like Mayan temples. Wiser commentators point out how humans yearn for meaningful places like cathedrals, modern libraries, walkable neighborhoods, and places like this gem of a university. And that doesn't even begin to conceive of football and track, theater and orchestras, the Salzburg campus experience, and even more than that, the viral learning among peers who experience simultaneity of place. The residential college of the future will create an experience of place for people who are otherwise solo, tech-savvy nomads after high school, in the words of one of our faculty. So let's go eyes open into online learning. Yes, let's do what a great many students and faculty want and need, but let's do it for the sake of learning. Students are not consumers, but architects of their own education.